Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Two Rivers Tuesday. I'm Maggie Colella here with John Teague. How are you, John?
I'm doing good, Maggie. What's your favorite cuss word?
Oh my gosh. What an awful question.
This is what we were talking about before we recorded. And I feel like in integrity and authenticity, we should just, get that out.
Let the people know.
You don't really have to answer that question. I just want
Thank you
everybody to
for
know
bailing
that's
me
what we were
out.
talking about before. Yeah.
Oh my word.
Yeah.
Okay, but that does remind me of what I was going to surprise you with, which is
boy.
another another edition of This or That.
Oh boy.
But this is ChatGPT's Sabbath edition of This or That. Are you ready?
This is like a nerdy Bible Christian
Yes,
version of
yes,
this game.
Exactly. Okay, so this is, once again, I just want to reiterate that ChatGPT came up with these, not me. All right, so you ready?
Yes.
For Sabbath, slow coffee on the porch or cozy coffee in bed?
Slow coffee on the porch.
Okay, that had me wondering, who is drinking coffee in bed?
I don't know,
Isn't
but
that bizarre?
gosh, if you drip it, it's
Your sheets are ruined.
Your day is ruined.
Yes, that reminds me of how Jake recently stained our very light colored couch with a whole entire cup of coffee.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
Such a
fastidious.
I don't know what that word means, but it feels like it could fit. He spills his coffee so much.
Oh no, that's definitely not what that meant. So he's clumsy with his coffee.
With his coffee, yes.
Got it.
Yes. Sunrise walk or sleep in?
Sleep in.
What is sleeping in to you?
8:00.
Yeah.
On a Saturday or something. If I can get to 8:00, I'm like, whoa,
Yes.
I slept in.
Yes.
That's almost never happens.
Agreed. All right. Pancakes or fresh sourdough toast?
Pancakes.
Okay. Butter and syrup or just one?
Both.
Yes. Do you mix the butter in with the syrup?
What is this you're talking about?
Okay, what we do that is so delicious is you get like a slab of butter and maple syrup and combine those into one vessel and put that vessel in the microwave. So you have buttery syrup to pour on
Wow.
your pancakes. And
That's
it's
genius.
delicious.
Okay.
So you should
I
try
like that
to
better.
level
Yeah, because I
up.
don't like when if the butter is somewhat cold or hard.
Yeah.
And it just it
dragging
doesn't,
across the
yeah,
pancake.
That's
Yes.
not. I don't like that.
Farmer's market or homemade brunch?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we're going to the farmer's market.
There is one downtown. I
There
haven't
is?
been in years, but there's a farmer's market. I feel like it's on Sundays though. But when we lived in Columbia, South Carolina, there was an amazing farmer's market every Saturday, and that actually was the perfect thing to go do.
I have a memory growing up, in Chattanooga, going to the farmer's market. Mm-hmm. Went with my parents. Maybe it was on Saturdays then.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I remember them getting bushels of beans.
Bushels of beans, yeah.
My parents love fresh green beans.
Yes, they are
And
delicious.
so I grew up on that. And so, this canned stuff it's not good.
No, it's not. And there's something along those lines at the Ottawa Nursery, I think. A farmer's market of sorts. Linda's Produce has produce, Jesse says. It's a farmer's market, Jesse says. Okay, and he says it's good. I need to go there. I've never been there.
Yeah, it'd be a great Sabbath activity.
Yeah, it would. All right, a couple more. Leisurely hike or neighborhood stroll?
I like the leisurely hike.
Yeah. Yoga or hammock nap?
Hammock nap.
Do you have a hammock?
Yeah.
Is it up or you have an Inu?
I have an Eno.
Yes. Bike ride or sitting in the sun?
Sitting in the sun.
Homemade dessert or ice cream run?
Homemade dessert.
Okay, that's all for this edition.
That's good. Those are fun. I want to go do that right now.
Yes.
All of those things. I want to do
sound
all
nice.
those things right now.
Yes.
I'm so stressed out because I got to do all those things.
All right, before we jump into the sermon, do you want to talk a little bit about Bros and Barbecue and why someone should go?
Bros and Barbecue is going to be awesome, and here's why you should go, because Rob Ronick is cooking, and that man can cook,
yes.
and it's going to be good, and I plan on eating myself into a meat coma, and then,
Meat coma.
yeah, and one of our brothers is going to share a little bit of his story, and you need to come and to hear that, because I bet you can find yourself in his story.
Yes, and to register for that, you can go to 2rc.org/brosandbbq.
It's great.
All right, you ready for
It's
the
Thursday
sermon?
night, yeah.
Yes, this Thursday, March 12th.
What is it, the 12th?
Yeah. All right, you ready for the sermon?
Let's do it.
All right. On Sunday, you talked about Sabbath. It was kind of part 2 of the Sabbath. So if you didn't hear part 1, I encourage you to go back and listen because I feel like you laid the theological foundation in that sermon. And then on Sunday, we got a little bit more practical, but also just talked about, again, why we Sabbath. And so it was all rooted in this idea from Proverbs 11:10 that says, when the righteous thrive, a city rejoices. Mm-hmm. And so in your mind, when you picture the righteous thriving, paint a little bit of picture of what it looks like for the righteous to thrive.
Can I start with painting a picture of what it looks like to not thrive? Because I feel like I live in that picture a lot more. When I'm not thriving, I am hurried and I'm rushing and I'm short-tempered because I'm frantically I'm behind, and I'm not rested. So my fuse is shorter and I get angry at little things. I'm irritable and therefore I'm not very loving to those around me. That's just a small glimpse of kind of an everyday experience of not thriving.
Yes.
So the picture of thriving would be what? Being so well rested and content that I've got interruptions don't just blow me away.
Yep.
They I see them as things that the Lord has put in my path, and just tend to those things as they come. And if those people are part of those interruptions, it's caring and listening well.
Yes.
And meeting the need of the person that comes into my path. How would you answer that?
Yeah, I think there's a stillness and a rest and a quietness in your heart that leaves room and margin for life to happen to you and it not be the end of the world. Yeah. When life happens to you, the fruit of the Spirit is going to be what bubbles out, not your flesh, because you're in that rested place. And I also think of relational wholeness that can come from that. So both your union with Christ and your connection to others can be whole and uninterrupted and not and undisrupted. Is that how you would say that? Not disrupted, because you are thriving. And so that's going to affect every interaction you have, every way, the posture of your heart throughout the day, and just how you approach anything that comes your way.
Yeah. I think that when you're thriving, you've had, I'm just thinking about even in marriage, is your marriage thriving or is it just kind of surviving?
Yeah.
When your marriage is thriving, you've had time to connect with one another, you've had time to forgive one another. You've had time to talk about things. You're connected. There's trust there. That person is for you.
Yeah.
And there's something about that that when those things are settled, you're not carrying that around with you all day.
Yes.
And it's spilling out onto the people around you and who had nothing to do with what's going on at home.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I just picture when we're thriving in our marriages and our relationships and our walk with Jesus, there will be such joy. And that joy and rest will affect everyone around us, which brings us to the idea of when the righteous thrive, a city rejoices. Yeah. And so kind of break down what might it mean for a city to rejoice?
Gosh. Well, at member meeting, I talked about Psalm 126, and when God was restoring the fortunes of Zion, of Jerusalem, of his people, because it wasn't just the city, it was the people. When a city rejoices, it's the people in the city are rejoicing, right? And these people that are watching what's going on with God's people say the Lord has done great things for them. So I think that's part of it, is when God's people are thriving, the people of the city go, whoa, their God has done good things for them.
Yeah.
Look, they are thriving. They're healthy. They're content. They're confident in the midst of concerning circumstances, whatever that may be, right? So that may be part of it. Maybe another part of it is that like the people in the city are well loved, like they're well cared for, and so they rejoice, and that's because the people of God are healthy enough to care well for others.
Yes,
that's some things that come to my mind.
Yeah. I imagine this is the picture that was coming to my mind. It's just so ridiculous. But like, imagine a UFO for some reason comes
yes.
and just sucks up every single member of our church family.
Yeah.
Like, if we are thriving, then there should be tons of schools and workplaces and neighborhoods and areas in our community that are like, oh no, this place is not going to be as good because these people are not here.
Yeah.
And so I love picturing, like, because we gather on Sundays and then we like go forth from there into so many places. I love thinking about how in each of those little pockets where we end up throughout the week, how can those places be thriving because we're there?
Yeah.
And so I think it's connected to our mission as followers of Jesus to go and make disciples. That's the great commission that Jesus gives us. And so when we are rested and thriving, we then therefore go into all the places and have the room to make disciples, because we're not just going into all those places exhausted and anxious and frantic and irritable. And so I think there's a real sense in which honoring the Sabbath is connected to the Great Commission.
Yes.
Would you agree?
Totally agree. And I was just thinking about how, like, just think about work, right? Well, that's what we've been talking about over the last few weeks in Ecclesiastes, and how part of having a healthy, thriving view of work is to like be rested.
Yes.
Right? Like, and to not try to get our identity and value and worth from our productivity. So if we're going into work and that's what we're trying to do, we may be willing to step on other people's toes. We may be willing to cast people to the side. We may be willing to be all about us in sort of our drivenness to get from it our worth and our value and our sustenance, our what's the word? Provision, you know, like if we don't have a bigger view that God is our provider, that he's the one who says who we are, that we get our identity from him and our intimacy and connection with him, and then everything kind of flows out of that. If that's not where we are, we're probably not thriving. And I would say we're not thriving in our work. We're trying to get something out of it wasn't meant to give us. And then the people around us, they may suffer the consequences of that.
Yeah. I think that's a great picture to paint. And so, I think it's just good to ask yourself the question, like, am I going into work in such a way where like I'm coming thriving, and therefore the people around me have the opportunity to like thrive with me and get in on that?
Yeah.
All right, let's talk more practically about Sabbath. On Sunday, you said the Sabbath is meant to care for us, not crush us. It is a gift, not a burden. In what ways do you feel like Sabbath can become crushing, or can begin to feel like it's crushing us?
I think it can feel like it's crushing us when we have some perfect picture in mind of what it's supposed to be. And if we can't get there, it's like the Pinterest version of Sabbath, you know? And with all the things that you gave me choice-wise that I like chose, you know, and it's like if you can't get that, it just feels like it becomes this crushing thing that you just stink at or you failed at. And for some of us in our wirings, like that can feel like a crushing burden. I think another example would be if all we're thinking about is like how to do Sabbath right, and that involves like a bunch of like don'ts, you know, and like, or do's and don'ts and like all these rules around it, then all of a sudden it becomes a burden. That's what was going on in Jesus's day with the Pharisees, and like somehow along the way in their desire to honor this command of God, they they missed the plot somewhere along the way, and like it was just all about all these things you can't do, and they missed the fact that it's supposed to be to care for us. I think those are great examples. I think that, like you said, depending on your wiring, you may begin to feel like, well, if I can't do this perfectly, then I might as well not even try. And then we get into kind of
ignoring the Sabbath altogether, because
Yes.
that's kind of easier and more comfortable for us than the somewhat hard work of like trying and practicing, trial and error, like maybe not getting it right sometimes, or maybe realizing, oh, that wasn't as restful as I thought it was going to be. Like there's so much practice involved before
Yeah.
you can figure out what brings you delight and what works well for your family. Like the thing that we enjoy most on our Sabbath is hiking. And I know people who like, they cannot fathom why we would choose to do that on our day of rest, and that's because that isn't what works well for their family.
Yeah.
And so I think if you just try to like copy and paste, it's good to get ideas from people, and there's a place for that, but don't try to like compare what works for your family to what is working for another family. You have to figure out and explore what fits you and what's going to help your family thrive, and it won't look the exact same as another family.
Yeah.
But it could feel crushing if you were trying to do your Sabbath just like so-and-so.
Yes.
Another thing I think about is if you put the weight of your rules on other people, then you accidentally make Sabbath feel crushing for them.
Yeah.
This, I think, plays out probably most in the context of marriage. If you, like, say you and your spouse have a plan identified and you're trying to be intentional about this day, but then you find your spouse maybe like breaking one of the rules that you set up, you have an opportunity there to either crush your spouse or to give your spouse grace.
Yeah.
And so that this has played out in our marriage where like one of the things we try to do is just like not be on our phones, but from time to time something will like bombard Jake on his phone that he is kind of doesn't have control of, and like he kind of does need to address that within reason. And if when he chooses to do that, I can either crush him and be like, what are you doing? You're breaking our rules. How dare you do this to our family? Or I can be like, I bet this isn't fun for him either. Like he's
yeah.
not loving that this is happening.
Yeah.
This is bringing him stress.
It's supposed to be his day of rest, too.
Yeah, I can come in with grace for that, and then like we can all get back into a place of rest, or I can totally crush everyone around me.
That's good.
And so I just think there has to be grace for everyone as everyone is like learning it and figuring it out and attempting to rest.
Yeah. How about this one? Maybe this could be another way that the Sabbath or trying to take this time to rest could feel crushing, is if you, and maybe I'm just thinking about this in terms of a marriage and a home, a family, when you're the only one that's trying to like do the preparation for the day, like that can feel just like crushing when it's like, well, this would be far less crushing if I had that other day to like spread some of the load out, right? I don't know. Maybe and that's just kind of like I guess we won't ever stop, right?
Yes.
I guess if I was going to say that's kind of a broken way to think about it. I don't want to be that strong with it, but it's just like we just won't stop if we ever just feel like, but if I could spread this laundry out over
7 days,
day, it would be easier, and maybe, but we just never stop.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think another thing that can feel crushing is if you have intentions to prepare for Sabbath and you're not able to fully prepare in the way that you had hoped to, then you can be tempted to be like, well, I guess like that day's out, or I guess like I have to do that work on my Sabbath now, instead of like choosing to be okay with the imperfection of like, like I wished I had gotten to more preparations, but I didn't.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be okay with that.
It's going to be okay.
Yes. Instead of, I have been tempted to feel like, well, because I didn't get X, Y, or Z done like I had planned to, then I have to roll it over to Saturday. And like you said, like if we always do that, then we will never rest.
Yeah. That reminds me of the quote I read. Is this a good time to I want to share
read that?
that?
This
is
really
from
good.
a book called The Common Rule by Justin Whitmell Early. And he's actually the author of Habits of the Household as well. And I just really like this. Maybe it's just really relevant for me, but he says, trying to Sabbath brings almost everyone to the same realization. I can't get it all done. Maybe it's the laundry, maybe it's the yard project, maybe it's work emails or a job search. Whatever it is, when you plan to stop the work for 24 hours, you come to the stubborn reminder that you can't do it all. This is the point. Practicing Sabbath is supposed to make us feel like we can't get it all done, because that is the way reality is. We can't do it all.
Yes.
Sabbath protects us from acting out the lie that we can. Sabbath helps us discover the restless soul of which Augustine wrote. And he's referring to that quote that I shared, I guess, a couple of weeks ago. You have made us for yourself, O Lord, and our hearts are restless until we rest in you.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I think there is such a lie in our culture and in our flesh that is driving us to be able to do it all. And when we choose to ignore Sabbath, like he said, we're acting out that lie. We're perpetuating it in our flesh, in our heart, in our mind, and in our culture. And that's why it is so countercultural for us to rest. Yeah. And I think that, again, goes back to the mission piece. Like, that is surprising to people. And I think it shows them and it acts out for them the story of the gospel that, like, well, I can rest because the work is finished in Christ.
Yeah.
And so I can operate out of that instead of striving for everything else that the world is striving for. You look like you have something to say.
Well, I was just gonna. I don't know where you're going next, but it's this. All of this talking about rest and just reading that, and thinking about stopping the work and thinking about families with younger kids. Like rest. If you've got it in your mind that it just looks like laying on the couch and doing nothing in peace and quiet, like you probably will be frustrated, right? Because that's not necessarily what it is. You might need some of that. You may need an hour of that, and you might need to help your spouse with that, right? Or, your kids may need to, like set up some kind of, boundary or something where you're like, hey, for the next 30 minutes or something, we're gonna do quiet play. And so find something right now, and then we're all gonna do this together. But it doesn't have to be that. Like, you're going on a hike, and that is rest, because you're enjoying God's creation.
Yes.
And you get to point all these things out to your children, and they're getting to like learn new things about how God's made the world, and you're exploring together, but you're not trying to accomplish.
Yep.
You are not working, whether that's your work at home or that's your work for you, like at church, or for Jake at the office. And that's a big part of resting, and you're being with your family. That's what that day is supposed to be about.
Yeah. Yes.
So it's not just like, well, I didn't get to, like, Sabbath stinks because I don't get to like lay on the couch and watch,
Netflix all day.
Yeah. Or reels of people tripping on roller skates, like that's not what we're describing here.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's a great point. And the other reason why like hiking has been restful for us is because it's almost like a little bit of rest from discipline. Like, obviously when we need to, we will, even if we're on a hike, but like, because in that environment there is so much freedom that our girls can have. There's so much less like, please don't talk like that, you can't touch that, not right now, no to this, no to that. Like, there's so much less of that. It's just like, run free, climb the rock, like look at that branch, go get in that water. Like, there's not a lot we will say no to on a hike.
I like that.
And so that gives us just like a parental rest in a sense of just like, it's easy to parent out there.
That's good.
Where there's so much freedom. But I think it will be crushing to you if you have this romanticized version of what rest has to be in order for you to be restored. And I think it will be crushing for you if you're expecting Sabbath to save you. I think that's something we have to like be mindful of, is like, even if you have the quote unquote perfect Sabbath, you are still broken. You still need Jesus. It won't fix you or save you. And so don't put your hope in that day in such a way where when it doesn't satisfy you or it doesn't give you the rest you were like longing for, that you're frustrated with it. Because you're not meant to find your rest in the Sabbath itself. It's supposed to, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Point you like get you to the rest that you have in Jesus.
Yeah.
It propels you to the rest that you have in Jesus, because only in him, he's the only one that saves. He's where true rest is found. And so just be careful of expecting Sabbath to do something for you that only Jesus can.
Yes, that's a great point. And that kind of leads to a couple things I want to talk about. So I'm going to do my thing,
Yes,
don't
got
let me
it.
forget. I should come up with words, right? So these are going to be shadows and something that starts with S. I don't know.
Gosh, it has to be alliterated.
Yeah. Shadows and eternity. Okay. So in Colossians, the Apostle Paul, I think it's in chapter 2, he writes about, hey, don't let anybody cast judgment upon you about like special days
Yes.
and these feasts and new moons and Sabbaths,
Yes.
and these may have been like the weekly Sabbath may have been kind of like special Sabbaths. He's basically like saying like, hey, these are not like, that's not the point, right?
Yes.
So like everybody's going to kind of practice this differently, and there's freedom in that. He's like, just remember that these things were like shadows of which Jesus Christ is the substance.
Yes.
So like he's the one who casts the shadow. I just think that's so cool to think about, and would be worth pondering. But these things are supposed to point us to Jesus.
Yes.
And so the Sabbath and the rest that we're supposed to have from our work, and to trust that God will take care of us, to trust that even if we accomplish nothing, we are still loved, which is the picture of the gospel, then what that is supposed to do is point us to the fact that Jesus did all the work for us to save our souls and secure our eternal identity and purpose and joy, right? And so what I wanted to point to, this is the second thing, it says with the shadows, the second thing is like eternal rest. So like practicing Sabbath now is supposed to point us to the rest that we'll have for eternity, right? But we can enjoy some of that now. And so talk a little bit about like how it's a taste of, and how like it's important to practice it, because it's giving us a taste of what will one day be the fullness of.
Yes. Yeah. I think when you practice Sabbath, you're getting to like experiment with, or like remember in a sense what was in Eden, the like wholeness, and then what is coming in full in eternity. And it when you practice that, it convinces your heart and your body and your mind in a unique way that full, complete, perfect eternal rest is really coming, because there's something wired into our soul that longs for that day to come. And so when we Sabbath, it's like reminding us again and convincing us that day really is coming. Because every other day of the week, everything on your mind and your heart and in the world and in your flesh is telling you like, all you have is this life, all you have is right now, and so make the most of it, achieve, hustle, strive.
That's all you get.
Yes. But on Sabbath you get to like resist that lie and believe fully that like the rest is coming. And so that's one part of it. And then the other part of it is the enjoyment piece, that like in eternity there will be like pleasures forevermore, right? And so every time on Sabbath, when you're practicing like really delighting in something and letting that overflow into worship, and you're practicing really slowly savoring the day and enjoying something about the day, you're getting like a sampler of what eternity will be, and that stirs your heart to long for that and to keep you more focused on that, because without those reminders, without those tangible reminders, it can feel like, again, because this life is all I get, I have to like get all the pleasure possible now, and all of these experiences and all this entertainment and all of the joys in this life have to satisfy me now, and they won't, but in eternity they will.
That's good. Let me share a quote with you as we kind of start to head toward the barn here. This is from a book called Sabbath by Wayne Muller. I'm not sure how you pronounce it, but I didn't put it out here in this stack of books over here, but because it's an interesting book, but I loved this thought. Our willingness to rest depends on what we believe we will find there. Think about that. Our willingness to rest depends on what we believe we will find there. What do we believe we'll find there if we truly stop and trust God?
Yeah.
And I just encourage you as you're listening to think about that. What do you believe you'll find there? Does that make you anxious? It'd be worth thinking about why, you know? And I was thinking about this even as I was thinking about eternity, eternal life, heaven. Like what our willingness to look toward that or to live with that kind of perspective, it kind of depends on what we think we're going to find there.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just wonder if sometimes we don't want to rest because we're afraid of what we'll find there.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I just encourage everybody as you're answering that question, if and when some kind of like icky things start to come up in your heart, like to fully lean into whatever that is and cast that onto the feet of Jesus. Like he cares for you and he wants.
Yes.
He's not like afraid of that or like, you know, he embraces that and he like draws near to you even in that kind of ickiness that arises. So bring that to him.
And wants to heal that.
Yes.
Just like the man with the withered hand in Mark chapter 2.
Yeah. He restores life.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's good. All right. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. And we'll be back next week.
See ya.